Good day, and welcome to Conversations with AARP in the Virgin Islands. I'm Troy Deshabert Schuster, State Director of AARP in this territory, and we're very pleased to be with you again today. We hope that all of you continue to remain safe and free of COVID-19. And today now we have a special guest with us, and this is Amy Rose Herrick. Amy, welcome to the show.
Nice to see you today.
Same here, same here. And so AARP focuses on how to build and preserve wealth, especially now during these tumultuous and uncertain times. This is extremely important for older adults. The lingering coronavirus is forcing older Americans and Virgin Islanders to look much closer at their finances, including income stability, debt, and retirement savings. Recent developments have made millions of Americans increasingly worried about their prospects for retirement than in previous years. And so, in pursuit of helping people to understand their finances and to plan better for retirement, we have Amy Rose Herrick working with AARP. And she's a facilitator of the AARP in the Virgin Islands in collaboration with the government of the Virgin Islands Employees Retirement System Financial Literacy Workshops. I hope I got that all right. That's a long title. But in short, Amy puts on the financial planning workshops for AARP. And now AARP has teamed up and collaborated with GERS, and Amy still coordinates those workshops for us. So, Amy, tell us a little bit about yourself. First of all, what brought you to St. Croix? How did you become a financial planner and come to give people all of this wonderful advice?
I've been an entrepreneur for over 3 decades, and see, that sounds so much better than 30 years. And it's been quite a journey. I've done everything from working in the corporate world, where office management, cost accounting, inventory control, employee benefits, owning our own business. I went into the investment world, worked in that world. I've become a chartered financial consultant. I've been a life insurance agent since 1991. Feel like a dinosaur there. I've written articles. I have books that I have authored on a variety of topics. The client base that I worked with changed. I do taxes. So I'm a tax professional. And then in my 25th year, I sold my portfolio management practice. So it's really been a progression over 3 decades, but it's always evolved around money and finances. And that has really enabled me to have a very wide knowledge base for corporations, businesses, and then also individuals. So a little different. Everybody's journey is unique. That's mine.
Excellent. So you bring a world of experience, um,
Mhm.
personally, professionally, all kinds of experience to the table, and you bring all of this information to our AARP members and GERS members, and really to the community. These workshops are in collaboration with GERS,
Mhm.
and they are free and open to active employees and retirees of the government of the Virgin Islands and the general public, 18 years of age and older. So anybody, in other words, whether you are an AARP member, whether you're a member of GERS or not, as long as you're over the age of 18, you're welcome to join in these free workshops, and they're all virtual. So can you tell us a little bit about that, Amy? How do people go about signing up for these workshops and joining them?
It's very easy. You can sign up through the AARP website. I'm getting it in my email box. I've been a AARP member for years, so there's also been an email coming out once a month letting you know some of the things that are coming up. I know that GERS is also promoting this through the channels that they have, so very easy to join. What I am getting on a little bit of the feedback, these topics are multi-generational. This isn't just for retirees, or this isn't for somebody just over 40. A lot of the things that we talk about, whether it's budgeting or estate planning, goes across the generations. And this is an excellent way, if we can have more than one generation watch and can open the discussions that they need to have in order to preserve wealth and create wealth in families. And that is one of our goals in having it from the 18 up, is not just to help one segment, but to help lift all of us up in the community. So this program really has been delightful for me from the standpoint of, I'm not just helping one little demographic, we get to help the entire family. So that's been very exciting to me.
And it's so important because, statistics show that most people really don't plan for retirement, that most people tend to live paycheck to paycheck. Like, how can they make it through the next 2 weeks? One thing I heard you say, if I may digress for a moment, during one of your workshops that I listened into, is that a lot of people like to go out to dinner the same night on which they get paid and go shopping that first weekend, and they start eating up all of their money. So we can talk a little bit more about that and how to avoid going out to those nice restaurants on payday. But before we get into the particularities, tell us some of the topics that you cover during these workshops. That's on a high level.
Oh, it is. And I'm going to touch base and I'm going to look at some of my notes to make sure that I get that all in there. One of the things that just touched on is, when should I retire? Now, that is a very loaded question anymore because society has changed. It used to be you looked at a number on the calendar. Well, that's when you're going to retire. I have individuals who retire 3 or 4 times. They're just retiring from different endeavors. And we also have individuals, think about some of the YouTube and some of the other things that have happened that didn't exist a generation ago. We've got individuals who are retiring at 35 and 45. So when should I retire? And we go over a lot of the different components on that. That's just one class. And that one will be coming up in March. So if you're thinking ahead as you're listening to some of those topics, that's one. We have another session that is, why do I need legal documents now? I go over a lot about the normal, will, power of attorney, medical power of attorney, but we also get into titling of assets, because in addition to retirement, how you title assets and how you handle taxes can have a huge impact on what your retirement is going to look like later. So we'll be touching on that one in April. And then coming up for February is going to be managing your financial resources. I have some formulas: 28-33, 36-40. These are not football moves, but there's some things that can help you. And with working with that, we talk about credit cards, balance transfer programs. What about cash flow? What are things you can do? And in most of the classes, you're also going to see that there are handouts. When you join our classes, you're going to be able to not only have the presentation, but then the attendees will receive an email and you will get copies of the slides, which is really valuable to you to be able to go back, cover a lot of information in an hour. And I often have handouts, and those handouts may help you do something or to help give you a checklist. And so a lot going on. Depends on what you're looking for, but we're really trying, again, to help the generations. And these classes can do that.
Excellent. The When it comes to retirement now, of when should I retire, at AARP we recognize that people are living longer, that a lot of people are outliving their pension, especially if it's a defined
Yeah.
pension plan. People are outliving their savings. And so a lot of people, rather than retiring at 50 or 60, are working longer. So tell us what your thoughts are about that, and how can people repurpose their life or their profession, in a manner of speaking, after they retire from maybe their first job or their second.
One of the things that I really try to impress upon people is, when you start thinking about a retirement, maybe your first one or maybe your second one, I really want you to focus on the 3 tax years around it, because there are things that you can do that will set the stage for what your income is going to look like going forward. So the year before you retire, the year that you retire, and the year after you retire can put a basis. And along with that, I see individuals that have had hobbies, and now those hobbies become a part-time business, or they become a new career, which is an entirely different thing than what you've worked with before. There's issues that can go along with changing a lifestyle. It is a much more common topic now where if individuals cannot make their resources cover the lifestyle in the circumstances they're looking abroad. If you can go live in a foreign country and you can do it on 1/3 or a half of what you can do where you are at present, that allows individuals to have a very comfortable retirement, and they still travel or they come back, but they maybe have the place they live that's inexpensive, and then they have the expensive place. So retirement as a whole has dramatically changed. COVID has put a few, breaks for things temporarily, but it's not a stagnant thing to be retired. I just don't see that anymore.
Exactly. And talking about relocating and living abroad, I have thought of that many times myself because I've been to a few places in the world where I won't mind retiring. And the cost of living is so much lower than living here in the Virgin Islands. I mean, we have such an incredibly high cost of living. I mean, for crying out loud, even living in southern Florida is cheaper than living here in the Virgin Islands. It's unfortunate that we have to think in those terms, that we may have to retire, but to a different place. But if necessary, then we will have to do that, right? So that we can continue to enjoy a certain lifestyle that we've come accustomed to. So, and talking about turning your hobby into a profession, at AARP on the U.S. mainland, we do have those kinds of workshops, where you can turn your hobby into a business. And as you mentioned, I mean, I know some people here who were great bakers of cakes and tarts, or do great handicraft type things, mokajumbis or dolls dressed in madras, and they get into that and they do really, really well. So there are all kinds of possibilities out there.
One that people don't think about is a skill that you and I are using right now. We have a command of the English language. There are individuals who are using their computers and they are teaching English to individuals or having conversations throughout the world, and they're being paid to help other people learn English. So even when you start thinking about, well, I can't do bake, I can't do those things, there is what is called the gig economy. The gig economy is there, and they're looking for professionals. I'll throw a few out. Are you a retired legal secretary? Nobody has taken all of your knowledge away. There are gigs out there for individuals who can proof legal documents and can work, but they don't have to be within the office. Are you excellent at setting up Excel spreadsheets and doing all of this? Are you a graphics designer? Do you have a good eye? Can you proofread? It's one of your talents. So it isn't always what you can do with your hands. Many times it's learning, what really do you have for your skill set, and how can you engage this as little or as much as you want? And again, these opportunities did not exist a generation ago, but they do for today's retirees and those who are not retirees that want to be entrepreneurs and don't want to go to brick and mortar anymore. The number is staggering of the number of people that are now going to the virtual workforce. You're virtual in your home right now. I'm virtual. And so it is a very different dynamic than what we have ever seen before.
Yeah, it is amazing, and with every challenge comes an opportunity, huh? And there are many, many, many opportunities now, especially working virtually and working from anywhere in the world. I personally look forward to getting back into an office and interacting with people once we get past this pandemic, please God. But nonetheless, I mean, it's great to be able to work from home and continue our regular lives, and to find so many opportunities here. Now, with the financial planning workshops, as we mentioned earlier, it's for everybody above the age of 18.
Mhm.
Everybody can learn something. Everybody is on that journey toward retirement. So we all have to think about it from the time we start working, from the time we start making money. But also, you touch on some very important topics um, that usually come up toward the end of life. And so, if you will, let's talk about those for a while. Some of these end of life planning documents, if I may use that term.
One of our sessions talks about wills and end of life documents. But in addition to that, there are many things that you can do while you're living that can have a tremendous impact on what your financial future is. One of the things that AARP did, we're here in the recent past, and not everybody has really grasped how incredibly important it was. We struggle with probate. All I have to do is say the word probate, and I can see the grimaces and the rolled eyes, because if you've experienced probate, it's long, it's expensive, it's painful, it is to be avoided at all costs. There are a couple of new laws that were put in place, and we do go over these in class, and I touch on them. 80/23 is in regards to your digital assets, such as your Facebook accounts, your YouTube channels, all of those type of things. There's also 82/50 that you can now transfer your vehicles outside of the estate, which is wonderful, or it doesn't need to be in a living trust. And then 81/69 is huge. It enables you to transfer a house at death to the individuals of your choosing. And it does not have to be through a will. It does not have to be through a living trust. I am going to tell you that if you transfer it, that doesn't mean the debts go away. All right. The debts still have to be paid.
Right.
But we have resources now we didn't have before. And when you're dealing with the end of life issues, I really try to, I will say, stand on my little box and preach about, I don't care how old you are. If you're 18 years old, you need a will. You need a medical power of attorney, because things happen, I say, in the blink of an eye, or in the lack of a heartbeat, or the spoken phrase. Things change so fast. And if you already have these documents in place, you can make it so much easier for someone to manage the care, take care of the issues, versus not having them and no one has the authority. And again, this goes back to multi-generational. I believe that I am going to teach the next class. My afternoon today is not promised.
Right. Yep, that's for sure.
And so and some of them, I don't try to offend people. I'm not it, but everybody in our viewing audience, please hear me. I think you're going to die. I'm pretty convinced you are going to die someday. I know I'm going to die. Everybody in my family is going to die. If we know this, let's just take care of it. It doesn't mean you're going to die quicker because you made a will. That's not how that works. Don't
Right.
believe that lie.
And it's great that you mentioned these three acts, and I'm proud to say that at AARP we advocated for
Yes.
these acts. These are all acts of the Uniform Law Commission of the United States of America, and they're non-probate acts, so that it's a way to help you to keep your property out of probate, as we just said. And so now these are all law here in the Virgin Islands. And, Amy, it was interesting. Not long ago, I was speaking with a well-known, prominent attorney here in St. Croix, and he started praising the Real Property Transfer Upon Death Act and telling me how wonderful it is. And he's been using it with some of his clients, and it's just the greatest thing. And I said to him, yep, you're talking to the professor here. We advocated for that. I testified on that. We
Yes.
pushed that, and we got that enacted. So very, very happy. And for those who want to learn more about it, aside from coming to the workshops, but please do come to the workshops. You can find a lot more information on aarp.org /VI at our state blog, where you can find lots of information about these particular acts of digital, the fiduciary access to digital assets,
Mhm.
the non-probate transfer of vehicles upon death, and the non-probate real property transfer upon death. So,
Yes.
so please do look those up. And also, there's so many other documents that we have to think about. I mean, for instance, suppose we become incapacitated
Mhm.
one day, and we can't make our own medical decisions or financial decisions. So tell us just a little bit about some of those documents that you discussed, just at a high level.
Yeah. Now, a power of attorney, think about it as your financial or your day-to-day affairs. Your medical power of attorney is specific for medical decisions. So I recommend that you have two. You may or may not have the same person that you have chosen on those documents. I'm very adamant. I'd like to see who's your first choice. What if that first person has passed away or is unable to deal with the situation? Who's your second choice? Who's your third choice? Put a fourth one down. I never want a judge to decide anything for me that I can decide for myself. And what happens is many times these documents are put in place and you never pick them up again. So I say 3 or 4 deep. Make sure that you also pass those copies out so people have them, because it's no good in a safety deposit box if you're the only one who can get to it. So those are very important because things happen. We got a quick minute. Let me give you an example here. Y'all know what a hummingbird is?
Yeah.
Now, if I made a hole in my door for a hummingbird baby to only go through head first, that's a pretty tiny hole. And there might be a little something get through it, but really not much else. If I did a power of attorney that says that Troy has my power of attorney on my ABC bank account ending in number 123, all he can do is write checks and make deposits. That's all Troy can do. That's a very limited power of attorney. Think about a semi that is parked the wrong way on a 6-lane highway. You can go under it. You can go around it. You are Dukes of Hazzard. You get a ramp. You just jump over the top of it. It's inconvenient, slows you down a little, but you can get there. Now, broad power of attorney would give Troy, if I gave it to him, the ability to sell my house. He could deal with insurance, deal with my taxes. So you have a lot of choices on these documents to make them do exactly what you want. And I encourage people to have a business power of attorney. If you own a business or you're a partnership, if you're incapacitated, who has your voting shares? Who can make decisions for the company? So they're very important. And if you've got them before you need them, they're priceless.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, truly priceless, and can even save your life
Yes.
if you have the right documents in place, especially when it comes to healthcare powers of attorney and so forth. It's really unfortunate when sometimes people don't have those documents in place, and then family members are fighting and feuding. They're the next of kin as to whether to pull the plug or whether to resuscitate or not resuscitate, etc. And it can become a very, very, very difficult time for families. And unfortunately, sometimes the patient, the one suffering, can slip through the cracks. So it's very important to think about all of that.
Yes, and you can do what's called a living will or a declaration, and that is in addition to the medical power of attorney, where you state your wishes. If I wanted an armed guard to keep my husband away from the plug, if, as one extreme, or on the other extreme where I said, no, I don't want to be resuscitated. I do not want a feeding tube. I can make my wishes known so that my medical power of attorney also has a guideline. But when the families are feuding, the medical power of attorney can say, look, it doesn't matter what I want. This is what Amy has instructed me to do. I'm
Excellent.
following their wishes.
Yep. Yep. No, I've seen the positive impact of having those documents in place within my own family, and I've also seen the chaos of not having those documents in place. And so I really encourage everybody to think about that and to take part in these great workshops and learn more, so you can have all of your ducks in a row, as it were. Also, along the way, when it comes to saving for retirement, a lot of people just think about a savings account. A lot of people I hear, I'm not even sure the right terminology, but susu or partner hand or whatever,
Susu.
where people, yeah,
Susu.
where susu, okay, where people give money to each other, and I'm thinking, wow, they're just holding this money and not even earning any interest on it. Like, what are you doing? So I'm sure, well, I know that in your workshops you talk about not only savings accounts and certificates of deposit, but also mutual funds and other investment instruments and so forth. So tell us a little bit about the instruments that you discuss in your workshops.
We talk about a lot of different vehicles. We also talk about life insurance. We talk about long-term care. We talk about one of the sections that I enjoy, it's called, Would the Real Tax Bill on $75,000 Please Stand Up? And in it, I show actual examples of, I think it is like a 1.8% a 3% or a 15% tax bill. Which one's right? I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to go to class. But on that, it makes a difference on the same $75,000 of income, whether you're paying around $15,000 in income taxes or are you paying $1,200 in income taxes.
Mhm.
These are all things that there are like pieces of a puzzle that if you can put the pieces of the puzzle together correctly, you have an entirely different picture than if you throw 3 boxes together and try to see what you can make happen. And when we're working in the classes, income taxes go along with retirement because it works with your income stream. So many times you've got a couple of different pieces, and even beneficiaries. Did you inherit an IRA from your parents or your sister? Well, what's the tax implications there? All of these things work together that help you today and for retirement. And saving for retirement, some people think their entire savings in the retirement is built up in their home because they plan to sell it later.
Mhm. Mhm.
Many, many different paths, but you need to choose the path that's correct for you. And everyone has a different job, different resources, different talents, different risk levels. Some individuals absolutely would not buy a stock because too much risk for them. If it changes $5, they're just going to fall apart.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So as we wind down here in the last minute and a half or so, tell us about the schedule of the workshops. When do they take place, the time, and again, how can people learn more about them and register for them?
Well, right now they are being held on the second Wednesday of each month. So our next one that we're planning to do, look at your calendars for the second Wednesday. That's when they're scheduled with. GERS is promoting this. AARP is promoting it. So you could contact either agency. And we have the topics. And at this point, we're rotating, but we're looking at adding some additional topics. So join us. Just take an hour out and join us and write your questions during the presentation and we'll answer them at the end.
Wonderful. And I really encourage our entire listening audience, again, 18 years of age and older. This is open to all adults to please take advantage of this. Over the years, AARP has put a lot of resources into providing these workshops
Mhm.
and providing them free of charge on St. Croix and St. Thomas. And now actually it's all virtual. So no matter where you are, you can take part in them. And there's even a period of question and answer. They're all done on Zoom. So it's an easy platform that you can join from your cell phone or other mobile device. And if you're a government employee, more so, more so. Please do join. So, Amy, thank you so much for all that you do. It's been, like I said, going on 3 or 4 years now that you've been doing this with us, and they've all been wonderful. So we look forward to a great 2021 of financial planning workshops and beyond. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a great day. We'll be seeing you soon.